Vishal Mangalgadi, an Indian scholar, tells about his first trip to the West. He visited England. His host took him to buy some milk. So they go to a farm. There's nobody there. They brought these containers with them, and they filled the containers from a dispenser. And there was a bowl of money on the window. So the man takes on the bowl of money, puts in his money, takes out his change, puts it back, then they leave. And he looks, and he's just astounded. He said that in India, everyone would have taken the milk and the money. He told this story in another country, and they said they would have taken the milk, the money, and the cows. But if the customers are not honest, then the farmer would have to hire a cashier. And, well, who would pay for that? Well, you would, the consumer. And, well, if the consumers can be dishonest, then so can the farmers. They could water the milk down. So then you have to hire inspectors to check the milk. And who would pay for that? You would, again, through your higher taxes. Now, if the consumers can be dishonest and the farmers can be dishonest, well, so can the inspectors. They may want extra money to overlook something, or the farmers may want to buy them off. Again, who would pay for that? You again, the consumer. So the price of milk goes up 3 times because of basic lack of honesty, a sense of a right and wrong. What we used to call morality. But we don't talk about morality anymore. Morality implies a standard of right and wrong that exists everywhere. It transcends the law. People make laws, but morality is not what lawmakers decided it is. People say this is right, this is wrong, not because some lawmaker said it was right or wrong. But that was in the old days when we thought religion had a place in public life, where we thought religion had a place in saying how we lived in our country. Morality, at least as has been historically understood, it has to do with God. God created the world, and then he gave us the rules and directions and how this is supposed to work, and how life actually does work. Without a God, you can talk about legal and illegal, but you can't talk about right and wrong. Right and wrong talks about a system of morality that transcends cultures, nations, something that laws would apply in specific ways to different situations. Morality for most people today has come to center on the idea of, or matters of sex, freedom from the historical constraints that were seen as unnecessary and outdated hindrances to human freedom and pleasure. But if there is no God, or at least one that is relevant to society's values or government policies, then there are no rules concerning sex. There are still a few carryovers from the time that we had a common morality, like the age of consent for sexual relations, or the number of people who can be legally married to each other, and marriage with certain blood or family ties. But these are being challenged too. And in a secular society, the reasons against them just will not be strong enough to maintain the way we've always done it. Morality is simply the system of right and wrong. But who is to say what is right and wrong, especially in a society and a government where we're told it was intended to be secular? Today, well, they say it's society, or our government, which determines what is right and wrong. Well, there are at least 5 problems with that kind of thinking. The first is, there are things that are wrong that will never have laws passed against them. Like gerrymandering. When you have representatives of certain districts, and then the lawmakers map the district out in a way that favors a certain party. I mean, they know who's going to vote a certain way, and to a good extent, and they can draw a district that puts all the voters of one type in one area and others in another area, so they can determine ahead of time pretty much who's going to win the election. But you're never going to see a law against that. Why? Why would lawmakers make a law that isn't in their own self-interest? There are no laws. You'll never see a law against being unkind or hating people. And there'll never be laws against being lazy or selfish or arrogant or rude either. So the laws can't cover everything that is right and wrong. There are things we know that are right and wrong above what lawmakers say. The second reason is that people equate right with being legal. If there's no law against something, then it must be right or all right. We often hear politicians saying that they did nothing illegal. That means that they broke no laws as they are written. But if the facts were known, everybody would still call their actions shady, deceptive, sneaky, or just plain wrong. People will wrangle over the letter of the law, not its intent. If the law doesn't explicitly describe the act in question, people feel free to do it. But they may, and you may well know what the lawmakers intended by that law, but because it didn't spell it out in those specific words, people feel free to do a certain act. Besides, who knows what the intent was 20 years ago? But even still, people will normally be judged by what the law says and not what people think the originators had in mind when they passed it. Laws can change. What was right and wrong 20 years ago can be reversed today. Remember, it was the government of Germany which tried to exterminate the Jews. Oh, you don't like Jews? Well, someday you could be the one the government tries to exterminate, and who will come to your defense? And the mere fact of having laws isn't enough to keep people from breaking them. The fear of punishment is often not enough to stop people from breaking laws. It takes a higher reason, an allegiance to a higher power, to God who sees everything and knows everything, and to whom we have to give an account of our lives at some point. Laws or these eternal constraints can only do so much to regulate behavior. We have more laws today than at any time in history, and yet our jails are full. The ethics of our country has always been that of Christianity, but now the country has officially turned from that to secularism due to some rulings by that court we call supreme. The country doesn't have a moral foundation anymore. You can't make enough laws to cover all the possibilities of dishonesty or cruelty, deception, harm, evil, or exploitation. Christianity prospers a nation by establishing a moral framework that directs human behavior from the inside of a person, that motivates people to a higher standard than what is just legal. Christianity makes people consider your motives and encourages sacrificial living for causes and people beyond oneself. Christianity provides a higher law of a love for God and people that seeks to do good for people, even at your own expense. Without a society where people want to do what is right or actively seek the good of others, you need a huge government funded by people like you to protect you from everybody else, and you need more policemen, more judges, more jails. Congress keeps having to pass more and more laws and regulations to cover all the possible ways that people can be dishonest. And businesses keep having new layers of expenses, more costs that to comply with all these regulations. That just dries up the costs and the services that they give you. Prosperity isn't just about making more and more money, but keeping more of what you already have. If government didn't cost so much to run, taxes would be a lot lower and everybody would be a lot better off financially. Besides, I think all of us would prefer that people just didn't commit crimes in the first place, rather than our society having to go through the time, expense, and trouble of finding these people and making a case against them and then paying to take care of them when we remove them from public life. Thank you.